Coming to paperback and e-readers this April, ISIS, the main event. It's carnage inside of a steel cage as the goddess next door steps in the squared circle against the beast from the falls in this all-new ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS, the main event, this April. I was on Instagram yesterday, and I noticed a post by Bill Cosby. And in this post, he was describing how he was dealing with yet another allegation of sexual harassment, this one levied on him by Rosie O'Donnell and a former producer of the show, which alleges that Bill Cosby participated in sexual harassment against her when he was scheduled to make an appearance on the show. Now, when I take a critical examination of this latest allegation against Mr. Cosby, I see yet another attempt to revise history by white women. Because the Rosie O'Donnell show took place from 1996 to about 2002, and at the same time, your Bill Cosby was starting his brand new sitcom on CBS, which premiered in 1996. So your Bill Cosby was probably in the middle of a press junket for this show, if he was making an appearance on a Rosie O'Donnell show to promote his new sitcom. And if this producer were to make this allegation, she probably would have dropped a major bombshell at the time. Because again, here we have Bill Cosby, who is just about to start a brand new sitcom, or in the middle of working on a sitcom which ran for about 5 years, and this allegation would have probably turned the world upside down, the same way Bill Cosby's world was turned upside down during the late 90s when there were allegations made by the Sean Thompson Upshaw as related to Autumn Jackson being the daughter of Bill Cosby. Now, again, I find it very interesting that Rosie O'Donnell and this producer don't talk about this issue during the time when Bill Cosby is dealing with the Sean Thompson Upshaw scandal and the death of his son Ennis. I mean, you would think that while that scandal was going on towards the late 90s, your Rosie O'Donnell would have come out and talked about this and dropped this bombshell on everyone around the same time that Sean Thompson Upshaw was making her allegations about Bill Cosby being the father of Autumn Jackson. But no, we get nothing but silence from these two white women who at the time probably would have dropped, if they had dropped this report, would have actually severely destroyed the entire legacy of Bill Cosby back in the 1990s, but we got nothing but silence from them. That's why I say their story is quite suspect, because to wait 24 years to talk about this just shows me that this is another attempt by white women to try to revise the narrative on your Bill Cosby in an effort to try to demonize Bill Cosby, malign his name, tarnish his reputation, and destroy his legacy. Because if these allegations were true, I believe they would have dealt with they would have revealed those allegations way back during the time of the death of Bill Cosby's son Ennis, the time of the scandal with Sean Thompson Upshaw and Autumn Jackson. That would have been, again, a major bombshell, and it would have really done the damage back then. But to not talk about this until 2020, this shows me that this story just doesn't have that credibility as related to the ring of truth, because to wait, again, 24 years to discuss this allegation without going to take any sort of action back during the time of the Rosie O'Donnell show, and during a time when they could have easily capitalized on using this to further go after your Bill Cosby, this shows me that this story has no credibility whatsoever. Because, again, when you look at the timeline as related to these allegations, and then you look at the timeline of what was going on in Bill Cosby's career, this was the time when somebody could have easily gone after Bill Cosby and used this to destroy his image. I mean, you had, again, the Rosie O'Donnell show started in 1996, and it was going on until about 2002, and Bill Cosby was launching Cosby in 1996. So I'm looking at the timeline, and the timeline just, it's not adding up that this allegation is in any way, shape, or form credible. And if this was the case, again, the opportunity would have been there to reinforce the first attempt to malign Bill Cosby way back in the late 90s when Sean Thompson Upshaw and Autumn Jackson made their allegations against Bill Cosby. And when I look at this most recent allegation, it just seems like somebody looking to revise history, somebody looking to change the narrative, and somebody possibly maybe looking to deflect because allegations have been made against your Joe Biden, and they want to bring a black boogeyman out here so that everybody will have their eyes on that black boogeyman and not make a serious look, take a serious critical look at this white man and his sexual indiscretions and his allegedly pattern of deviant behavior. Because it seems like every time a black man had allegations made against him, there's a white man who is also in trouble out here. And it seems like every time one of these white men gets jammed up, they want to go out here and bring out a black boogeyman so that everybody will have their eyes on their black boogeyman. And when I look at this story, it seems like another one of these stories where white women are trying to revise history to make Bill Cosby the bad guy. But when you take a critical examination as related to the facts, as related to the evidence, you don't really see any sort of anything related to any sort of sexual harassment, because if that was the case, again, you would think that Rosie O'Donnell would have used that opportunity to go out here and attack Bill Cosby and really do some damage to his career. I mean, he was in the middle of doing the CBS version of Cosby, and this allegation compounded with the allegations made by your Sean Thompson Upshaw and your Autumn Jackson at the time. All of this stuff could have destroyed Bill Cosby's reputation at the time, because that would have been the time to capitalize on the whole situation. But I find it interesting that they're going to remain silent for 24 years and then decide to come out with this story. And them coming out with this story, that's what makes me say that this is another white woman looking to revise history, because when it comes down to a lot of these white women, they want to try these allegations not in a court where a man can get due process under the law. No, they want to try these cases in the court of public opinion, and what they want to do with black men is make them the brute of the month. And with the whole brute of the month narrative is they want to take this black man, make him the bad guy, make him the boogeyman based on an allegation, and then use that allegation to make him this villain so that they can get the last 4 or 5 seconds of attention from the 15 minutes of fame that they are running out of. So a lot of them want to get this last few seconds of attention for themselves by finding a black boogeyman to make the bad guy, and then going out here and trying to play the role of the victim. But when it comes down to these stories, when I listen to these stories, they just don't have that ring of truth. And in many cases, they remind me a lot of the same type of stories that white women told during the days of Jim Crow, when they would go out here and participate in all sorts of irresponsible, reckless, and egregious behaviors. And because they didn't want to take responsibility for themselves, what they would do is blame everything on a black boogeyman and then have the public go out here and try to lynch that black man. And what they want to do with Bill Cosby, Rosie O'Donnell, and this producer is go out here and get attention for themselves, make Bill Cosby the boogeyman, and then try to lynch him in the court of public opinion. And that's one of the most egregious things that come out of this Me Too era is we have so many of these white women looking for ways to try to lynch a black man, make him the bad guy, and not even try to give this man any sort, again, of due process where they can defend themselves against these allegations and defend themselves against these types of charges. What they want to do is, again, try these cases in the court of public opinion, making an allegation, and then having everybody think that everybody's going to trust and believe everything they say because they've created this legal standard. But what I'm seeing is more and more people pushing back against that because that same standard, again, is what the Ku Klux Klan used to lynch black men. It is what the Ku Klux Klan used to destroy black towns and black businesses. It is a terrorist tactic used to make the black man the bad guy. And again, if this allegation were so true, and again, we live in a tabloid society, they would have taken that at the time of the Sean Thompson Upshaw, Autumn Jackson time period, and they would have plastered that over every newspaper across the country. Because again, when you look at the timeline and you look at the way things went on, again, Bill Cosby was in the middle of his second Bill Cosby show, and this show was a highly rated sitcom for CBS, and they could have easily taken this, again, during the time of the death of his son Ennis, and they would have plastered it all over every newspaper across this country saying that Bill Cosby had did this, and they would have gotten the maximum amount of news over here. So I look at that, and that's why I say this story just doesn't have the ring of truth and has no credibility, next to the same people saying, oh, Bill Cosby was this major and influential star. Again, another false statement because Bill Cosby can't really get anything greenlit in Hollywood. He doesn't have the power to get people hired or fired in Hollywood or even to get anybody blacklisted. So I look at this whole story and people's whole attempt to try to revise history, and the whole attempt to revise history to make Bill Cosby the bad guy, it really falls flat because when you look at the facts of this whole story, it just falls completely apart because why would you wait 24 years to destroy Bill Cosby's reputation when the opportunity was waiting there from the periods where Bill Cosby was dealing, again, with that scandal with Autumn Jackson's blackmail, Sean Thompson Upshaw, and the death of his son Ennis. The opportunity was back then where this woman could have easily made that allegation, compounded Bill Cosby's troubles, and destroyed his credibility back then. But she's going to wait till 2020, and again, that just doesn't make sense because anybody who wanted to make money on that story would have made money back then. They wouldn't have waited till right now. And that again shows that this story is completely false because nobody in Hollywood is going to waste a good scandal in order to advance themselves. So when I look at this whole story, it's just another one of these, again, attempts by white women to revise the history to make the black man the bad guy. And this whole trend of making the black man the bad guy, when you look at it, it just shows us that those who are on one side of the political aisle they are showing more and more of their true colors as related to their contempt and hatred of black men. And this whole attempt to destroy Bill Cosby is showing us that there's somebody there who truly hates Bill Cosby, and that this isn't about business. This is something truly personal. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to try some of my positive SJS direct fiction, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Haynes series, and the Smith-Storella trilogy, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.